you becoming the crew chief salvaged the year for the car. No, listen. So I do not have at this point in my life, I don't know how to rally these guys. I don't know these guys. These are Michael's guys.
Yeah.
I've ran off the crew chief that they were answering to, and now they can't look to me because I don't have leadership skills, right? And I have no confidence in me or anything that's going on. And so you coming over there was like a settling, calming, sorting out kind of voice. And it made a very intolerable year tolerable, and more so than tolerable when we would have a good run or even win a race at Chicago. I mean, that win at Chicago is one of my more prouder moments because
you did that.
You put me in that position.
Yeah, but
it was a pit call.
No.
It's fuel, right?
It was a pit call. It was a pit call, but not only that, a lot of I'm gonna tell you, you can ask any other crew chief that I've worked with. A lot of them put me in that position and I fail because they don't make me believe that it's possible. They put me in that position and say, well, good luck. You put me in that position and said, we're going to win this freaking race.
So you're calling me a liar right here on television. No, I understand. I knew you would win the race.
You were a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I really succeed. And if you look at Letarte and how he ran the team,
man, he's good.
He made you believe, and he made you believe he believed in you, right? And I always had that. There's not many. When the crew chief believes the driver can drive, that is as important as the power in the motor and the handling of the car.
That's true.
If the driver is sitting there and questioning whether the crew chief believes in him, that's a bad situation.
Terrible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you always, even before you started running the deal in 2005, you always talked to me and approached me in a very positive manner. When I talked to you, I would always try to get around you because I knew I was going to hear something good. I knew I was going to get something that lifted me up, right? And even when it might have been bullshit, you were doing it because you knew I needed it, or you could tell when it needed to be said or happening, right? You knew how to get a guy up off the floor, and you've probably been doing that your whole life with the positions you've held in many of these companies. But we go to Pocono and we're struggling.
Oh yeah,
right. And we're struggling, and our car's not doing platformed like in the other car. Tony Jr. and them are having a good run. And midway through the race, you got a spring.
Yeah.
How did you get the spring?
It was hand-delivered by either Tony Jr. or Robbie Fuller.
Yeah. Was it a moment where they were like, okay.
He's like, look, you guys are terrible.
Suffered enough.
Try this. Yeah.
And so we come down pit road. The way I remember it is we come down pit road, and I think I'm aware we're going to change the spring, but I don't know. I'm not visually understanding the details of what's happening underneath the hood. So we come down pit road, we unhook the front shocks, and you're like, okay, get going, catch up.
And the pace car was coming.
Yeah.
And I said, just speed, they ain't going to say nothing.
Yeah.
And they did say something.
Yeah. But also, the car going down that very wavy pit road at Pocono, I'm literally not kidding. It points the freaking grill, and I mean the valence is 2 foot off the ground. Thing, and I'm thinking, after a second or two, I realize I better slow this damn thing down because it's going to stand on top of one of the shocks or something bad.
Yeah, because the spring was that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've unhooked the shocks, and this thing's just uncontrolled. Anyways, we come around, catch up, and then I realize, okay, we're going to change the spring. So you change the spring, and then do some rounds, right? And that was a guess. And then we bolt the shocks back on, or bolt the top of the shocks back up. And I'm thinking, this is the first time I've ever changed the spring mid-race. And is it going to be even better? Is it going to be any better than it was? What are the odds, right, that you nail this?
It shouldn't have been.
Yeah, and it was. It hauled ass.
Yeah, I
yeah.
know. I know, it was insane. I mean, it was just it was like, oh my God. But you couldn't say no because you were being handed a gift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, we're putting it in. An idiot would have said, get that thing out of here and just thrown it over the fence,
I would love to know what your response is. I don't know if you heard, but Tony Jr.'s version of that story is that it was Pops during the race that went to Tony Jr. and said, I'm tired of seeing them run like ass. We're taking that thing down there. And it was Pops that grabbed that thing and went down to the pit and said, and finally got Tony Jr. to say, put this in, throw 54 rounds in or something like that, and watch what happens or something like that. Now, that's what Tony Jr. said happened. Is that how you remember it? And if it is, what did that say about how surprising was that based off of the tension that was going on at that time? Was that the healing moment that we didn't know we needed?
I wasn't told that till Monday morning. I didn't realize that Tony Sr. was
involved.
At all involved. Because I'd always been so aware of not trying to break up a guy that grew up with Dale Earnhardt. You know what I mean? Who thought the world of Dale Jr. Now he would be super hard on him and tell him he couldn't drive race cars, which may or may not have worked all the time. But anyway, I felt like after that, you could go talk to Tony Sr.
Yeah, that opened up the door a little bit.
Yeah.
So we go to Chicago, and
we ran second 4th of July at Daytona.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Because the Presley girl was. Why would Elvis Presley's daughter have been around?
She was there.
I remember I saw a picture of that recently. She
right,
came out
it's
to
your
the
bus.
Yeah.
It's your bus.
Okay, well, during the race, I mean, we're doing all we can do, man. We might even win this darn thing because our plate stuff was so good, and he was so good at it. But they bring a girl across in front of the pit box, which is not what they have now, but still really nice. And they said, this girl's going to sit up here. I go, no, we just can't. I didn't even know who she was. I mean, I didn't see her face. I may have known if I saw her. And, it came back to me after we ran second. Well, that's pretty cool. And somebody grabbed me and said, you idiot, she was part of something. I go, I didn't even, I'm sorry. I didn't know that, but I don't think he could walk into the dugout at a Yankees game either.
No.
But anyway,
So what you're saying is that you wouldn't let Elvis Presley's daughter up on the pit box during the race?
Yeah, it embarrassed me.
I'm on your side on this one.
Yeah.
It was a bench. It ain't
it was
nothing
a
like
bench.
we had today.
It
ain't
Alice like they have.
Holy
Yeah.
I wouldn't have let anybody up there either. I wouldn't have wanted anybody up there.
No, you needed your people up
That's
there.
hilarious.
Right? But then we went
this is the first time I'm hearing that story.
Yeah. We went to Chicago and we were just okay. You know what I mean? We were a top 3 car probably.
That's pretty good.
And Kansas had us killed.
Yeah, he was fast.
He was good.
Yeah. And if you go back to the things you're taught when you're young, if you want to run with the leaders, you pit with the leaders. If you have the best car and it's a decision between 2 tires and 4 tires, if it's not a track that's impossible to pass on, which Chicago wasn't, you get all the tires you can get because you got the best car. You go drive right around them, So we looked at it and said, well, the only way we can win the race is to just we got 2, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Blaney stayed out with, just got gas.
I think Blaney stayed out and Wimmer got 2. And we were 3rd or something, 4th.
And
for some reason, I feel like I had to pass Wimmer really quickly.
You did.
Yeah.
And then it got to Blaney, and I thought, oh, God darn, here comes Kansas, But then Wimmer held up Kansas, and then we got by Blaney, and then Blaney held up Kansas, and we wound up winning the race. But that was all about thinking enough of your race car driver that he's going to do this. He'll do this.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'll be honest with you. Most of the time when I'm put in a situation where I don't have the tires, it's just rarely worked out.
Yeah.
And especially like from 2008 through the Hendrick days, there were a lot of times when, I would stay out or something at New Hampshire, and man, we've seen this work in the past.
Yeah.
And it would be miserable. And I couldn't. I'm inside the car going, I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to make this.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we saw this work last year, but damn, we're falling like a rock.
It may have been a really good tire too. You may not have needed 4 tires.
Yeah. I think the combination of our balance and the 2-tire call and the clean air.
Yeah.
We were faster at that moment in the race than we had been all day.
No question. Yeah.
And the car was perfect. I mean, Matt was faster, but my car drove perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what a relief.
Oh my gosh.
I can't imagine another win that was needed more
Yeah.
at that particular time than that.
I did not. I didn't think. I was embarrassed and ashamed at how we were running. I was embarrassed to the crew, right?
And the crew was embarrassed to you.
I didn't feel that, but
Yeah.
you know, I don't know these guys as well as I did the 8 bunch, but I am embarrassed that we're to them that we are not getting more results, or this is not going how we planned. And in that moment, man, I never thought that we were gonna have the chance to celebrate like we did. And man, that was a really cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, them coming out to the car in the grass and
Yeah.
pushing it all in.
Oh yeah, that was. Yeah, that's a highlight of DEI for me. You know.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot of things at DEI, but that one's different.
Yeah.
You know, because we were in a rough spot.
Yeah, and you put a check mark next to your name that day. You know.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that can do that.
Yeah.
So between the shock at Pocono and then the win at Chicago, healing started to happen. And then before the end of the year, if I remember this right, either Tony Gibson or Tony Jr. was back to being the crew chief. Do I got this right?
I don't think so.
Okay. Did you finish the year as crew chief?
I don't think so.
Okay,
but I'm just saying I don't remember.
I got it.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It's by 06. I mean, this is 2005. 2006, you did
Junior's
have a new
back.
crew chief.
Yeah. So
Who was it?
Tony Jr. Right?
Oh.
Tony Gibson had to be in there somewhere, though.
No, Tony Gibson.
Tony
finished
Gibson was
out 07.
that's right. When 07. That's right. When Tony Jr. It was Tony Jr.
Yeah.
Tony Jr. took back over in 06.
Okay.
So
What I don't remember, because clearly none of us really remember all that sequence and all that stuff. But then I was just curious, like, what happened to you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't recall sitting on a box at Charlotte or Atlanta or anything like that. I don't know. We'd have to look at that. That's terrible to say, but to me, it was such a. You could feel the sigh of relief in the company when Junior carried us to the win at Chicago, and after that, it was just bliss. You know what I mean? We couldn't go wrong. You know, we had actually done something we really needed to do, and I don't know if we went other places and ran okay. I just don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I just don't remember.
I don't remember either. I just remember everything before that. And I know you won't remember this because it's just a moment, but when I say that we needed that win, I just remember Indy. Do you remember Indy, the Brickyard 400? And you know how everybody, the way the team was just running, it was just kind of, everybody felt embarrassed. Like you said, the team was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And you were embarrassed.
We felt like we embarrassed him, and he felt like he embarrassed
Indy,
us.
I think we ran like a bag of ass. And then you also have, but the fans sit behind us.
Oh.
You know, on pit road.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And we crashed. And
Was that
early in the race?
is that on the restart where we got run over,
Believe so.
turned into the wall?
Yeah, that's right. On the
There's
front
a
stretch. That's
real
right.
bad chain reaction stuff. And restarts there.
And you and I are walking to the garage. I'm walking behind you, and then there's people yelling behind, you know, from the pit road grandstands, and some dude smarts off, and like this was a moment when I could see you, and I'm like, Steve Hmiel may whip his ass. Now, but you didn't go try to do that, but I'm like, boy, if he'd have every reason to. I don't remember what the guy said. Yeah. You didn't let it go without a comment, but it's like this is when I felt like, man, the team is at its absolute lowest right now.
I hope I didn't embarrass us.
You absolutely didn't. No, that's when I actually got like. That's when I was like, man, we go to fight, we go to war with this guy. Yeah. This is our guy, right? Like, no, you didn't embarrass us at all. Nobody knows. Only I know it because I was just right there beside you. But that's when I said, going back to Chicago, if there was ever a win that was ever needed as much, I remember how low it kind of got that year, and not low because of any one thing. Just as a team, everyone just kind of felt it, you know. And it was rough, and you got turned into the fence. And I mean, like, God,
it was like the world put a giant OK stamp on us when we won Chicago.
That's right.
These guys were all right, you know.
Well, I think it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't have made the call you made on that final pit stop to take the 2 tires. You know, that was you had the confidence to make that call. You know, I say that because everything about everything that year had done. We had every reason to have no confidence to make those type of calls. But you and your just the experience of all those years, and you're like, you know what?
We were going to win or run third.
What's the worst?
You
I
know?
know. What's the worst could
That's
happen
right.
here?
Yeah.
What's the worst could happen here?
We'll run third.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, that was a pretty incredible moment. Also, I had remembered as a boy, I remember going with Kerry to the dash race at Daytona in 1992 and seeing you and Mark. I always had a lot of respect for you as a crew chief. You know, not only, you know, you come and you were in a manager style role at DEI for the most part. But to be able to say in my career that I have won a race with Steve was pretty something that I didn't think I would ever be able to say, you know, for one, because
I'm in the same position with you on that.
You had moved, you'd kind of moved on from crew chiefing, you know, but to be able to say, well, damn, you know, I've done something that I can, you know, say that Mark Martin's done and Terry Labonte's done was pretty fascinating for me. I really enjoyed that.
I appreciate you saying that.
I appreciate it more and more as I get older because of my appreciation for history, I think, grows, you know, and to have done something like that, I think it means more to me now than it even did when it happened.
It meant a lot that day, boy,
it did.
For sure. Yeah. For you.
Yeah. Well, it did
for me to work with you.
Well, so you end up, do you remember much about your last days at DEI?
Yes.
What happened?
I didn't like the management. Tony Sr. and I went to talk to Teresa upstairs. It was all set up, you know. And we presented. Tony and I were basically holding hands on everything we talked about. And we saw some things that really weren't going right. And Teresa said she was going to stick with the leadership she had. And I saw some things that continued to be wrong, and I got too loud about them, and they fired me. Yeah, which they probably should have.
Yeah.
But it was...
You weren't going to stand by.
You just can't do it, man.
Yeah.
You know, you got, especially at a place like Dale Earnhardt Inc. I mean, that your dad hovered over all of us. You know, I mean, just like, oh man, you know, I got upset when Ty left, and then I didn't feel like we had the proper management group in place, and then I saw things that were like, man, that's not how you race. You know, being the old guy, you know, and complained about it too much, being the dumb guy, and they fired me.
Where'd you go?
Ganassi.
And then Ganassi and DEI pair up.
Yeah.
And that was awkward, or
I thought it'd be okay till we got in the meeting, and there was probably, honestly, 15 people in the meeting, and Chip's at the end of the table. Teresa wasn't there, but you know we're just sitting in a table not near as wide as this, and in a conference room somewhere over there, and
where at?
At Ganassi's.
Okay.
And because see the deal about going to Bobby Ginn, that was horrible.
Yeah.
Because the fellow that ran Bobby Ginn before we went in with him just said, "Guys, it's all yours." You know, honestly, actually said, "Guys, it's all yours," and walked away. and so we're like, and it was two completely different cultures that applied to racing, and it never worked. But anyway, they came in and everybody's talking. What do you think? How about this? Yeah, this. We'll do this. And the two of these guys at separate times from Earnhardt stood up and said, "The only thing I want to be real clear on is DEI was a much better place when Steve got fired." And I'm like,
who said that? You don't have to say that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
In a meeting that you're sitting in?
That was like a natural reaction.
yeah.
Like, who the hell said that?
One was sitting right across from me, and one was sitting down a couple, and they were.
They said this with you in the room.
And they were people that ran departments or crew chiefs.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I just sagged, you know. I thought, really? I mean, it's a mess. I mean, Junior's leaving. It's a mess. I mean, and then Chip said, "Well, I'll tell you this. He has come here, and he's made a difference, and we run better, and we're going to be winning races pretty soon, and I'm not changing." So I appreciated Chip saying that.
What were they trying to accomplish? Were they trying to get you fired from Ganassi, or were they just trying to set the expectation on who's running who's going to run the competition with this merger?
They didn't want me around.
So they're trying to get you fired.
Yeah, because they talked to me after that and said, look, man,
Dang.
you're not the right guy for what we're trying to do. We don't like you. We hate you,
Goodness.
Yeah.
You must have really spoke your mind before you left DEI.
No, it wasn't anything about them. It was all about management. But and I'll tell you another really bad thing was, speaking of how I didn't agree with management, Tony Uri was senior. Tony Jr. had, I guess, gone to Rick's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Tony
10,
Uri,
came here.
10 races to go in 07.
well, Tony Uri Sr. is down in what I call the bush shop, and I couldn't even tell you what he was doing at the time. But upper management knowing that I had tiptoed forever not to upset Tony, for good reason. I mean, Tony they was a lifelong friend of Dale Earnhardt. Mm-hmm. They made me go fire him.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, I had to fire Tony Uri. After, I don't know, approaching 10 years of making sure I never stepped out of line. You know what I mean? Not that Tony was an ass, but I always respected his relationship with Big Dale. I think, there's a picture of Ralph over there on the wall. I think Ralph built Ralph Uri's engines.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these are kids growing up. And I'm not coming in there and I'll show you how this is done. I never did that. And I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then they made me fire him.
God, I didn't even realize. Did you realize that Tony Sr. got fired
Yeah.
from DEI?
I
Like
think
that's how
when-
that ended?
I feel like when that happened, we immediately called him to come here.
He went to work, yeah.
Right
oh, here?
Here.
I think so.
Oh.
Yeah,
So did
I
he
think you're
never
right.
work at Hendrick?
No.
Nope.
No, he
Never.
came here.
He came here and helped me with Brad. Hey, if you like that video, you'll love the entire podcast. The Dale Jr. Download, it's available on all major podcast platforms.